Have you seen those big billboard ads of shampoos, hair conditioners and moisturizers? Now if you focus on the hair of the model in those advertisements, you would find out that it has magnificent texture and dimension and shine to it. Is the shampoo really so good, or the retoucher? See, I'm not sure about the shampoo, but I'm extremely sure about the retoucher. Hey there, this is Unmesh, and today we are going to learn how to add shine and dimension to hair in Photoshop. Coming up. So too much of my face, let's jump straight into Photoshop. So I have imported the image of a model, the link to which I'll post in the description below so that you can work on it. So the first thing that we need to do to add shine, texture and dimension to her hair into Photoshop is that we need to figure out which is the brightest part of the hair in this image. Now, let's look for the places where the hair is shining. So it's shining here, it's shining here, it's shining here. So what do we do first? I think that this is shining the most. So let's zoom in and let's keep this in focus. Now what do we have to do? We have to make a duplicate of the background layer or this layer. Let's make a duplicate. Or other way to make a duplicate and copy of this layer is to press Ctrl and J. If you're using a Mac, press Command and J. So here is a duplicate. Now let's name it sample. Okay, we won't need it later. So this is the brightest part of the hair. So select the lasso tool and roughly select the brightest part of the hair. Okay, make sure that the feather is 0 and we would go to filter, blur, average. What that does is that averages the color of the brightest spot in the hair. Now, why did we do that? Because we wanted to sample this color. So we would go to this layer, go to this color picker, and we would click here, and this color will be sampled. Now, we need to make it brighter and more saturated. So wherever your selection is, see, this will differ for image to image. For this image, the color is a little bit brown. For your hair, it might be a little bit grayish. So whatever your color is, maybe suppose here is the selection. So I would make it a little bit lighter, take it up a little bit and take it to the right a little bit. Okay, and click OK. So we have our color. Now we don't need this layer anymore. We would simply delete this layer. We would drag this into the dustbin and drop it there. Now we have the color all right. So we would take the brush, make sure it is around average size and make sure the flow is around 50. Okay, and just simply create a new layer. This is a blank layer. Create a new layer and paint over the areas that are already shining. So simply just let's paint over this area. We would slowly do paint over this area and we would find out the areas that are already shining and simply move your brush over it. So we are painting. Make sure that every shining area is filled. And don't spill the color into her skin. Please don't. That would be terrible. And if you do that by mistake, you can always use the erase tool to erase that. This is the erase tool. Okay. So here is a little bit shine. So I don't want the color to go into her skin. So I would make the brush a little bit smaller. And let's add the shine. Yeah. Alright. I think we are good to go. Now I know this looks a little bit strange, but trust me, Photoshop is all about magic and the magic will happen soon. Now, what do you need to do? You need to change the blend mode to screen. Done? Now this adds a little bit of shine, but it kind of looks cartoonish. So I would go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And blur it up a little bit so that it blends in really well. So let's keep the value around 100. So it can be different for your image depending about the image size, the size of the head and the megapixels in the camera. So this value will be different for your image. Then click OK. Now what do you need to do? You need to right click and go to blending options. in blending option, you tell Photoshop that don't select the areas which are not shining. Okay, so let's drag this slider. So this slider deselects the areas that are not shining. So drag this to the amount that you think would be good. Okay, so this is a good amount, I think. But now, as you can see, let's drag this a little bit more. But as you can see, the transition from the areas that are shining and the areas that are not shining is not very smooth. It's very harsh, and we need to make it smooth. We need to make the transition smooth. So how do we do that? Press and hold Alt, or if you're using a Mac, Option, press and hold Alt or Option and click on this slider. The slider will be divided into two parts. Now drag the right slider to create a soft transition. Drag it to the point where you think the hair looks good and click OK. Now let's look at the before and after. This was before, this is after you have added the shine. So if you don't like the shine too much, if you want the shine to be a little bit, you can always go ahead and decrease the opacity to the point where it's desirable to you, to the point where you think the shine in the hair is okay. So I think 95 or 90 rather would be a good spot to be. Now if you're satisfied with this, you're done with the image. But if you want more, texture to it, so stay tuned. So now we have to create a new merged layer. So a new layer in which these two layers are merged. How do we do that? Press and hold Alt, Control, Shift and E. A new layer merging these two layers are created. Now if you're using a Mac, it's Option, Command, Shift and E. So what do we do to this layer? We would go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. Let's wait for it to load and increase the clarity just a little bit, maybe 1820-ish, and increase the vibrance a little bit, maybe 40-ish, and click OK. So but as you can see, this effect has been applied to the image as a whole and not the hair. So we want this effect to be applied just to the hair. What we would do, we would create a mask. Simple. So press and hold Alt or Option in Mac and let's click on this icon, mask icon. So a mask is created and this layer is gone. So this is a black mask, which means the layer is applied nowhere. So you select this and make sure the brush is selected, select the white color and simply start painting over the hair. Increase the flow to around 100 and start painting over the hair. See, as I start painting over the hair, the areas of the mask are turning white, which means that this effect is being applied to the areas which is white. So let me paint over the rest of the hair, just plainly. Let me paint roughly. When you do this carefully, please. I'm just doing it fast for demonstration purposes. So are we done? I think we are. So without this, with this. See, it added a little bit of texture to the hair, and that's how you add a little bit of texture and shininess to the hair of your model, client or yourself. So let's jump back in and let's look at the before and after of the image. So let's make a group of these two layers. Let's make a group, and this was before and this is after. So as you can see how much dimension and shine we can add to hair in Photoshop in very simple steps. Do let me know down in the comments below how you edit your hair in Photoshop or any other software that you use. Also, if you have any questions, suggestions, feedback, also drop them down in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Hope you enjoyed this video, hope you learned something from it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, stay tuned and happy photoshopping, and if you like this video, please don't be selfish, press the red button.